Hey, thanks for joining me. I found these two Furbies at the bins, the Goodwill bins, and they were really messed up. You can see I tried to take them apart to see if they'd work, and all this plastic came out. So I thought, oh, I'll try and fix them. I honestly really thought that I wouldn't be able to do it. I really thought that they would be way too far gone, but I wanted to give it a shot, and spoiler alert, I did make it work. So here, yeah, you can see all the plastic that's already fallen out, and that's more than the first picture. This part in particular is actually important. It was the first important piece that I had found that had fallen off. It goes next to the beak. You can see where it just disintegrated right there. The shells inside did not hold up well, which is funny because the outside shells did. But yeah, over here you can see the corruption, or at least that's what I was trying to show. The battery acid just got everywhere, and this wire had gotten loose. So I actually had to learn how to solder for this project, and that was fun. I wanted to fix the latex, but I never did figure out how. Here you can see I've gotten that piece that was important to connect back to the frame, and I used some putty to do that. It's a self-hardening putty. I actually had to glue the frame back together in some parts, and you can see some of the places I point at with the screwdriver where it had fallen apart and where I had to glue it back together with super glue. And this was completely apart, not just a little crack. It was not connected anymore. And so getting the beak working again was really nice. And pop that back, and look, hey, he fits together again. That's really cool. So another piece broke. You can see one little white tab there. There's supposed to be another, and there's supposed to be a spring there that attaches to that white tab, and then another little tab that's there. And if I glue that back in there, the spring's it's just going to snap back off. So the tension would beat the glue every time. So I decided to just not put the spring back, because all that would happen by not putting the spring back is that the mouth wouldn't be able to close anymore. Now the mouth would still be able to open. See, the gear train would open the mouth and be able to close the mouth halfway. You can kind of see it opening and closing there. But without the spring, it doesn't close all the way. And since there's just no way for me to fix that spring, I decided I would keep going with the project and just let them be mouth breathers.
So I didn't need to worry too hard about him. Just look at him go. Everything seems to be working great, other than, like I said, he can't close his mouth. But I'm excited to get his fur back on. The mouth thing is going to bug me for sure, but I really don't think that I can fix it. And look.
So here he is with his fur back on, and here's patient number 2. Patient number 2's a lot worse off. I haven't even taken him fully apart yet, and I can tell that piece is completely disconnected from the piece underneath it when it really shouldn't be. Then make it worse than it was. The belly and the speaker are also completely disconnected because, as you can see, the battery box is just wiped. So I'm gonna have to figure out how to rebuild this box, put it back together, clean up the corrosion, which you can see leaking out there, and you can also see in the switch is really bad. But hey, I got one to work, so maybe I can get the second one to work. Let's see. We have hope for him yet. There's his beak all the way over there. So here I've taken the top part off and things have just fallen apart. Here's the tongue depressor that says, I've eaten. It's floating freely. You can tell that the front of the battery compartment's falling off. You can see, again, the battery acid having eaten that piece of the plastic. And I'm gonna have to rebuild a lot of the plastic because it's just missing. I can't fix something if it's missing. So I rebuilt the beak. It's the same part actually had to be rebuilt as the last one. And I've secured the board back to the frame, and I have secured the belly back to the frame. And I did that all with that same self-hardening putty, the what's it called? Resin putty, I think. The tongue depressor is still free floating, but I think I can make it work. It's a lot of fun to play with, though. Not gonna lie. So it goes where the tongue goes, and you can see where the putty is where it should be, and it's supposed to press down on that white tab, or the white tab is supposed to press it down, and then that's what registers that the tongue is being moved. So here I've built him up a lot more. You can see I put him almost all the way back together. I've glued him together. I've washed him with a lot of vinegar. I've cleaned up the battery compartment with a lot more putty, and I've put the switch back on. I need to clean up the top of his battery case, and I need to clean up how the screw connects to the battery case. As you can see, the putty's not strong enough to do it by itself, so I'm going to have to put some washers inside the putty so that the putty holds the washers and the washers hold the screw. So here's that all cleaned up. I had to leave it in vinegar basically for 2 hours, I think. Here's all of the extra parts and screws. These are for the feet. These are extra screws that aren't going back in. And you can see some of them are corroded to the point where I had to replace them. Those are the ones that had to do with the battery compartment. Go figure. So here he is. He's doing all right. Sorry, trying to get it to focus. And let's see if he works. Because I did manage to make it with one hand. It's a lot harder to make it work, but I did manage to make it work. I got the washers to hold in the putty, and the washers hold the screw in place just fine. So let's see if he turns on. Fingers crossed, everybody. I did my best. It's a wonder what some putty, some vinegar, and some super glue can do, because guess what? They both work. I'm really proud of myself. This is everything left over. You know, usually when you finish a project, there's like a screw left over. This is a lot more than just a screw. And I find it really funny that they still work after all of this literally fell out of their tummies, including the switch cover for one of them. I wasn't able to manage to get that back on. Oh yeah, they both work. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and letting me show you the process. Bye.